Okay, I have to admit it. I over-engineer things. I'm human. And you know what? I did it again. Just last week when we posted that video with FileStack, Amazon S3, Airtable, Noloco, just to see how we can handle large file uploads. Well, yeah, I was overthinking it. There is a better way. Turns out we can do all of this stuff with Fillout, and it's much cleaner, much simpler, and basically costs the same. In fact, cheaper. Let's take a look at how this works. Let's kick things off with a very quick demo, as we usually do. We have a social media agency, Airtable. We have some talent, Molly May, Tilly Tay, and Dolly Day. And we also have some campaigns. We have some content ideas. We have campaign 1, campaign 2. Not everybody has got access to the same campaigns. As you can see, assigned to talent, we have Molly, Dolly, and Tilly also has access to campaign number 2. And we have some content ideas, which is essentially the breakdown of content, and we also have our bulk uploads. These are like temporary records because they exist for a short period of time and then they get deleted because we don't want to fill up our Airtable with stupid files and content and all of that. Let's see how this works. Essentially, every single talent has got their unique Fillout, and it's generic. So for instance, if I click on Tilly Tay's link, it will pull her name up, Tilly Tay. It will ask her to choose for a campaign, and she's got access to campaign 1 and 2. And if I was to check out Dolly's link, Dolly will have access to only campaign 1. Regardless, I can choose a campaign, let's say campaign number 2, drop a few attachments in, let's go, something like this, and you'll see what happens. Most interesting thing about this is that you'll see how those files will appear in my Google Drive in here, but then because we're using Make to kind of like do the moving of files, and this is really crucial, I'm not using Make to download the files, just like our example with FileStack last week. Fillout takes care of the migration, the heavy lifting, the gigabytes of data from Fillout, from their platform into my Google Drive. All I'm using Make for is just that little moving, arranging, organizing the files in a nice manner. As you can see, I've got already some files uploaded for campaign 1, campaign 2 for Dolly and Tilly. But yeah, generally speaking, the files will land here and then they will disappear into the correct folder. I'm creating those folders as I go. So let's go ahead and upload, submit, and you'll see how the files will appear here immediately, and then they will also appear over here in my campaign ideas. My 2 files are ready. Now, most interesting thing is that I've also gotten my preview extension, which basically means that I can click on one of those files and I can preview them. This gets even better because most likely you know by now that within Airtable, and especially when using Google Chrome, you cannot preview MOV files, and this is one of the most typical file formats for video iPhone users typically upload. So it's a big problem, especially for Airtable-based agencies, some of our clients as well. So this is a fantastic way to not only save on space, but also have this new ability to preview MOV files. This is what it looks like to preview video. I think it's just great. Let's go to our SMA campaign files 401. Exactly. So that was like 1 minute ago. So literally the files are in the correct folder. Let's take a look at how this whole thing is set up, because you have to follow every single step in order to achieve this. Let's go. In our typical fashion, let's take a look at how we've set up Airtable. Simplicity is the key here. I have a list of talents. I also have in here my bulk upload link, which I typically get from Fillout, and we're going to talk about this in a sec. We have content ideas. So essentially that's the submitted pieces of content where I'm basically linking the talent directly and the campaign directly to that content idea. So that's kind of like a backward link that was created. Then we have the assigned to campaigns. Essentially, we want to control which campaigns the talent can or cannot see. And then we also have the related bulk uploads, which will be connected for a few seconds, but that record will get deleted. That bulk upload record is only temporary. Then we have campaigns, essentially list of campaigns, link back to content ideas, assigned to talent, again, that backward link, and bulk upload. Content ideas, we simply have a link to talent, link to campaign. We have a URL for content URL. That is the preview URL. There is also a download URL, which essentially allows you to click on this and immediately download the file. And then of course we have the bulk uploads. The bulk uploads has got a little bit more going for it. We have a concatenation of talent pipe campaign name. Then we have a process check mark. We have a record ID formula field. We have a link to talent, a link to campaign, the campaign name, which is just a concatenation of the campaign field so that I'm actually bringing the campaign name. The same thing for talent. We have the actual attachments that get pulled in from Fillout, although we delete that record and over certain amounts of time you will get your storage back. And bulk upload status, I don't think I'm doing anything here. I don't think I'm actually writing anything in there. But yeah, that's it. In terms of Airtable, now let's take a look at Fillout. Let's take a look at this little Fillout form. In order to achieve this, you probably need to be on Fillout Enterprise, which does cost about 80 bucks or something like that per month. But for this type of thing that we're trying to do here, super worth it, I think. In comparison to the file stack thing, this is like a little bit more expensive, seemingly, but you also have to pay for Amazon S3 storage. So it's about the same price, and if you go over 1 terabyte of storage, well, it's more expensive on that other end, and it's more complicated. Here we have a simple form, and it looks like this. We have, hey, the name, you basically just do @ and then the name of the talent. We have set up the integration here to actually create a row in Airtable, and this is what my setup looks like. Right now, it's basically writing into bulk uploads and creating a new record. More on the setup of the actual form. So the talent gets pre-filled with the default value of TUID. So don't know what that is, just jump into settings, go into URL parameters and create a new URL parameter, give it a name. I've given it TUID, and yeah, just map the default value with TUID over here, pressing this blue button, and just jump in here and just map this TUID. That will basically always pre-fill the correct talent. Now, it gets even better because as soon as you pre-fill the talent, and that is like immediately as soon as you load up the form, you have to filter the campaigns based on that talent. And all I'm doing here is edit filters, and assign to talent contains name. Assign to talent is of course a reference inside of my campaigns. There's a field here called assign to talent, and we want to make sure that we can see only the campaigns that have got that talent assigned to them. So moving forward, we have attachments, which is basically the attachments field of our bulk upload. And we also have another extra little field called process true that has got the default value of ticked, and it's mapped to our process check mark inside of our bulk uploads fields. There you go, that process field basically. Moving on to the integrations that happen, and essentially we've already talked about Airtable, and now let's talk about my setup with Google Drive. Google Drive needs a folder. In my case, I actually went ahead and created a whole new shared drive, social media agency, but then I realized that it won't pick it up. I actually need a folder for this, so I created SMA, social media agency, campaign files, as a means to basically store temporarily some files, and then we move them to their respective folders. We need a folder, SMA campaign files. I also put a custom file name prefix. I've got record ID and record ID. You might ask, what are the record IDs? Well, very simple. The talent record ID dash the campaign record ID. Why? Because I want to have something super unique when the files get added to that SMA campaign files, so that I can search for those 2, 3, 10, 20 specific files that the talent just uploaded, make a list of them, and upload them over to the right folder. Also, we have upload fields, which basically is mapped to attachments, to the attachments field from the form. That's it. Now, let's take a look at make.com and the scenario that we created in there. Final stretch. This is the scenario that basically takes care of the processing of our files. Number one mission is to check for folder, because we want to create a unique folder every single time, because we want to keep our Google Drive tidy. And in my case, I want to combine the name of the campaign and the name of the creator, the talent, so that I can find stuff. That's mission number one. Mission number two is to move the files from that generic storage, the SMA folder, into the correct folder. and in our case, we are either creating that correct folder or we find it if the talent is uploading, multiple times for the same campaign. So we find that folder and we move files in there. And mission number 3 is to actually create the records in Airtable, mapping little drive links where we can preview and download the files. Let's take a look at how this is all set up. Make.com, if you're not familiar with what this is one of my favorite automation platforms, kind of like Zapier, but on steroids, I would say. There is a link in the description below. If you've never used Make before, go ahead and check that out. You will get a month of free pro account with 10,000 operations, and you'll also help the channel because it's an affiliate link. So thank you. First things first, we need to create a new scenario, and I've already created mine. The first thing that you need to do is set up a new webhook. So copy this URL, not this URL, copy yours, and let's jump into Airtable. First and foremost, we need to create a new automation. So jump into automations. The trigger is when the record matches conditions, and that condition is process is checked. So Fillout checks this for us, and then we have to run the script. The script is like so. Just copy this script and make sure that you use your webhook that you've just copied. Final thing that you need to do is just map. You need to create an input. We have the name. Value is of course the Airtable record ID. So press this blue button, map this Airtable record ID in there, just like I've done. Once you've finished doing this, press finish editing. Don't forget to turn on the automation, and you're basically sorted. Essentially, every single time there is a new bulk upload, the system will hit Make.com, your Make.com scenario, with this little payload, which is the Airtable record ID of the bulk upload. Next step is to map and basically create a new Airtable module. And in my case, it's module number 5, where I get the record, I get that bulk upload. Next step is open up a Google Drive module. I'm performing the search for files folders action, where I'm looking up for my campaign name and talent name. I'm looking up for that folder, the combination of the campaign name and talent name. You have really only 2 options. You either don't find it, which is this path over here, or you do find it. Now, they are basically identical, but what you have to know is that, first of all, you have to have a filter, right? And in this case, total number of bundles. In other words, my search yields no results. In other words, I can't find that folder, so I have to create it. Or in the opposite end, we have total number of bundles not equal to 0. In other words, I found the folder. In the case that you haven't found the folder, you need to create it. So let's go. We have module number 8, which is create a folder. And within my social media agency shared drive, I'm actually creating that folder. I'm giving it a name, mapping the campaign name dash talent name. From there, I am searching for some files and folders, and more specifically, I'm looking for files in my SMA campaign files. It's that temporary folder where Fillout is basically storing my uploads. I'm looking for within the file folder names, the talent dash campaign. I'm looking for those record IDs, and then search options, search within name containing the search term, limit 50. I mean, technically this could be higher, but whatever. When I find them, they generate bundles. So in this case, there was only one upload, there was one bundle, therefore I'm moving one file. So I have to map that file, but since you will have multiple bundles most likely, essentially this is almost like an iterator, so it'll like process one file at a time in a loop. Anyway, we're moving that file to the newly created folder, or in this case, the one that we found earlier over here in the bottom. But yeah, we're basically moving that file to the correct location. We then need to enable some permissions. So go ahead and make an API call and copy this setup just like I've done here. The next thing, we need to grab that file and again, make an API call just like I've done right here. Once that's done, we finally create a new record within Airtable, within the content ideas table, and we map the talent, we map the campaign, we map the web view link, and we also map the web content link that we get from this particular module. Essentially on the bottom, it's a rinse and repeat of this process, minus over here, we actually try to move the folders. We need to specify module number 6 instead of module number 8. Well, you can't specify module number 8, but you have to specify module number 6 because you basically found that folder when you were looking for it. And the rest is exactly the same. Finally, last but not least, you have to delete your bulk upload record because, yeah, we don't want those records to stay in our Airtable and take up precious, valuable space. Hope you've enjoyed this particular automation using Fillout. Hopefully now you'll be able to continue using this amazing no-code tool, even for processing big files for your Airtable setup. Anyway, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.